Welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on Helix GPT. It's our overall product strategy, and we're going to be going through service management. Joining me today is Jürgen Hauser. For those that don't already know, he has run quite a lot of our webinars. He's our Senior Director of Product Management, and we will also be joined by some special guests who will introduce themselves later. So before we get started, we do have a legal notice that I would like you to just quickly review because we are talking about roadmap items. And while you're doing that, just a couple of reminders that the Q&A section of Zoom is at the bottom. If you have any questions during this session, please put them in there. We do have a lot of content to cover today, but we will endeavour to get to your questions at the end or during when we can find that bandwidth. And then we'll have roughly around 10 minutes at the end where we'll go to live Q&A. And any questions that don't get answered today, we will take away and answer them in a blog post. So I'm now going to hand over to Jürgen to do his formal introduction and also go through today's agenda and get us started. So over to you, Jürgen.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, and hello, everyone, and thanks for joining this session today. I'm always super excited to talk about our Helix GPT generative AI story. So my name is Jürgen Hauser. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management, and I lead a team of product managers globally that covers all of our ITSM business workflows, digital workplace, Helix knowledge management solutions, and the addition of the Agentic AI Helix GPT to our products. So the first part of my session here is I want to talk about our platform, our openness, so that you get an understanding how are we driving product investment. And after that, I want to kind of connect this to what's happening within our products. I talk about recent innovations, and I also want to talk about the near-term roadmap so that you know what's coming in the next, I would say, 9 to 12 months. And after that, we'll do a handover and we talk a little bit about customer success and how our services team helps our customers with implementing what I've been talking about. And as Sam already mentioned at the end, we have a Q&A part. So we booked some time at the end so that we are able to answer your questions. With that, I would like to start talking about our product strategy, and I'm specifically here representing service management. So one of the key things we get asked all the time, hey, how does this fit into the overall picture, right? And where are the humans? Where are the robots, right? And how does this all play together? So if you take a look at the current state of how we are doing work, for example, in a lot of software, right? This does not only apply to BMC Helix, but in general, right? So we have here the complexity of work that we are working on, and then the value we're getting out. And if you look at this, we are in the bottom left, right? And there is a lot of work with higher complexity, but also high value that we are actually not getting to work on, right? We all know this. We are pushing things out like, oh, we'll do this later. Maybe we'll get to it. Otherwise, it still might be okay, right? And we'll deal with it later, right? The key thing here is that we want to get to a future state, right? Where what we call unlock the human potential here, right? So the upper right, we can focus on the upper right here, and the other parts, right, is actually where our Helix GPT agents help, right? And you can also generalize this. A lot of other vendors will tell you a very similar story that you get rid of this tedious work, things you do not want to do. We have many, many examples in our ITSM product, for example, about things that no one wants to do but has to do. And here are the agents really, really helpful. They do this work. They augment, so to speak, the human person working on this. Right? So we are unlocking the potential here. The next way of looking at this is, well, what does it mean for our apps? And we really look at this as a transition phase that in which our apps, BMC Helix, transition from a current state, really forms, lists, workflow, dashboard based, right, etc., right, which is the majority, to a new state, right? We're transitioning to agents, right? And the apps portion gets smaller and smaller, but the agentic AI, our agents, they're taking over more and more of this work, right? And you need to look into this in the combination of this previous slide and this current slide, where we are headed. Then in our platform, right, we are looking at openness. You can see at the bottom a lot of logos mentioned here. We are open. Where is the compute? Where are the large language models? Where is data? What kind of agentic AI are we using in our platform? So while we are doing this, openness is an important driver. And you can think about this is what our product managers are thinking like, okay, how do I move over the next years, right? I mean, we all know this is not happening, right? We're not telling you that tomorrow everything is driven by agents or even agentic AI, right? So this is a transition phase that BMC Helix goes through together with our customers. How fast our customers adopt this technology helps us drive our roadmap as well. So when it comes to that, we are looking at Helix GPT and what can the agents do. We are providing guidance, and that's really good for you to know too. Our product managers and thinking about 6 main skills or capabilities generative AI provides that we can use in our solutions. The first one is summarizing. Summarizing something, summarizing an incident, a solution, etc. Right? This is something that Gen AI can do easily for us. The next one is making a recommendation, looking at the history, right? What happened in the past? Can I make a recommendation for the future, right? What should be updated? What should be actioned on? The next thing is what we call create. Create something, right? We've all seen large language models generating code, and in our BMC Helix platform, this is actually happening, right? We can generate code on the AI ops side, and we can create best practices, workflows. We can generate knowledge articles. I have a slide on that coming up. Things about automation, right? Getting out of doing things repeatedly in a manually way, right? Just kind of an automation, run some code, collect some data, create incidents, right? This should all be happening in the background, and I should not have to go through the UI and do click and point and walk through menus and figure out where I have to go. Making some predictions, resource utilizations, performance of services that we have, very important. And then last but not the least, right? So the first one and the last one, summarize and converse. This is our conversational AI. That's what we typically know from, for example, ChatGPT, the conversation and having it summarize something was where it all started with, I would say, like end of 2023. And this builds together our entire story that we talk about service ops, right? So that is the other key thing. Maybe a quick reminder here. Service ops is a big topic for BMC Helix here. It's merging the service management side and the operations management side together and to provide more powerful use cases. That was true in the past, and that is even more true with leveraging Helix GPT and agents. So over time, we started breaking down the barriers, and we continue to do this. And one way of doing this, and this is just an example slide here, is, well, switching a little bit away from the different products towards a more persona focused approach on this, right? Here we have an example of a NOC engineer, and this NOC engineer can do tasks based on the level, right, of his responsibility. We call this here level 1, 2, and 3. So we really think about the person and how we can augment this person with what we call our Helix GPT agents. In this case, this is an AI ops use case, we have a situation observer. It's an agent, augments the work of Michael here, and that has what we call skills, right? So an agent plus skills, that is really important, right? Instead of doing something manually, here we have automatic troubleshooting, summarizing, that goes back to the previous slide, right? Kind of summarizing, isolating something, again, BAR, right? That's the best action recommendation, that is making a recommendation. Then the next step is, well, maybe we need to run a script that does not already exist, right? So we generate code and this code automates a remediation and we can then automatically run this. Right? And then we have things like dynamic service mapping, right? And business services and a deep understanding and updating these as well are really, really important. So the key takeaway here is we are looking at personas. What do they have to do? Then we help them by augmenting their work with a Helix GPT agent that comes with a set of skills, right? And what you will see on a roadmap perspective is release over release, we are adding more skills to these agents. Right. So what is our strategy? How do we put all of these together? So in the centerpiece is our Helix GPT AI agents. Then we have this what we call fleet of agents, right? These are agents, and that ties back into the personas. We really look at a persona, employee navigator, right? That is the persona, the employee in an organization. A knowledge curator. A knowledge curator really is the person um, responsible for maintaining the quality of a knowledge base, right? And it goes on. A major incident handler is a major incident manager, right? So this is based on specific areas that we are talking about in the product, I would say in the product space here, right? Automation, remediation, etc., detecting something, ingesting something, right? So this is how we kind of put this all together. And then here the reminder, we have AI service management, AI ops, what we call service ops. So on the left-hand side, you see more of the service management agents. On the right-hand side, you see more of the AI ops agents, right? But we are looking at this holistically from a service ops perspective because a lot of things, right, play together, right? You can argue, is change risk on the AI ops side or is it on the IT service management side, right? We are managing change in ITSM, but to assess the risk, we need a lot of AI ops data. So really, really important. But you have the change advisory board, and these members, you want to provide an agent that helps them, augments their work. Okay, so then the next thing is we call it your UI, right? We want to be where actually our customers are. All of our products, now I'm switching a little bit back to the products, have specific parts of the UI, some additional buttons, a blade that shows up where you can have a conversation. But ultimately, from a strategy perspective, we want to be where our customers, the users of our customers are, right? In Microsoft Teams, in Copilot, in Gemini, right? That's one thing. If you spend most of your day in Microsoft Teams, we do not want you to have to leave Teams, right? For example, Employee Navigator to ask a question that can be answered based on your knowledge base. Or if you need to participate in a major incident, we want you to be able to stay in Microsoft Teams. Then the other key thing to understand from a BMC Helix perspective is that it's also your models, right? So we want our customers to bring their compute and their models. We actually get asked like, hey, I already have an agreement, right? And I'm building out the slide here. We already have an agreement with Microsoft Azure and where we committed to a certain spend every year. And well, does BMC Helix and your Helix GPT agents help with this spend, right? Burning down our commitment? That's the question we get, right? Way, way, way more often than, hey, BMC, do you build your own models, right? And do you run them in your data centers, right? It's really about, hey, Our customers already made a commitment and they are asking us, how do you tie into this? Then the other key thing here on the bottom right, your data, right? You can have SharePoint, Confluence, Snowflakes, etc., right? You have your data, and we also do not want to copy this data into our BMC Helix platform. So we're building our agents in a way that we can, for example, access information that is only available on a SharePoint site. Think about a travel policy, some expense policies, right? The employee navigator would need to be able to grab this data and answer a question based on a PDF that a customer has stored on SharePoint. This is all working. This is not futures, what I'm talking about. But this is the big picture. This is how our product team looks at developing our agent solution. Now I'm transitioning to recent innovations and our near-term roadmap. So now it gets real. So the first thing I want to talk about is our Employee Navigator. So Employee Navigator is our first agent, and it is available for more than a year, right? 13 months ago, we actually shipped the first version of Employee Navigator. And since then, we were working with customers to improve it, add more and more skills. So one of the key things here is Employee Navigator is how can I completely conversationalize everything I have in digital workplace? Right? Digital workplace is a knowledge base. You have a catalog. You want to submit requests, and you can, in the meantime, do all of this in a conversational fashion. And it ties a little bit back into our virtual agent that was IBM Watson based. And we supported different channels that we still or support again with this employee navigator like Microsoft Teams, Slack, WhatsApp, etc. Right? The employees might not be, we do not want to, the other way around. We do not want to force employees to go into a digital workplace or employee navigator. We want to reach them where they currently are. We also understand customers are in a transition phase, so you can add a button to a slide in this plate in digital workplace where you can actually go in and have a conversation. We continue here recently added capabilities. We continue to walk through this almost, I would say, systematically and conversationalize things like approvals, to-dos. To-dos a specific use case in business workflows where you can show up an additional form, service health, people attributes, right? These were all things you could do in the UI, but you can now do in a conversational manner. How are we continuing with Employee Navigator? Right. One of the key things is once we provide everything that was possible in digital workplace, we want to actually take it to the next level, right? And that's the first example here, right? You want to take an image, right? A picture with your phone and then immediately get feedback on that, right? Maybe this you have some issues. You take a picture. We support a screenshot that can be sent already, but in the next upcoming version, we will actually support taking a picture directly, right? And then we look at this. What do we see in this picture? Is there something related to this in our knowledge base? And then we answer questions. The next two things are images and videos in our knowledge base. We need to support them if there are knowledge articles with videos. We cannot answer at the moment if the answer is in the video. So we're working on understanding what the video is talking about and then answer the question. Then streaming voice directly to the large language model. This is where you do not have to type. You can then say, okay, I just want to speak through Employee Navigator and ask some questions about the travel policy. You want to submit a request, etc. And then the last item, this is where it really gets dramatic. That is, well, you share your screen with a large language model, and then you ask question. You have a real conversation, sharing your screen, and then it actually helps you solving your problem, right? So you're not even typing, submitting anything, right? So we want to see how far we can push an autonomous Gen AI powered agentic service desk. Right. Let's continue. Service collaborator, or sometimes referred to as service agent collaborator, that is a different role. That could be your service desk agent, right? And then going back to the strategy, how do we augment, help this person, right? Summarizing tickets, ask questions, get recommendations on how to work on this ticket. And yeah, that's also available. That came out in May 2024. And since then, we added skills release over release based on customer feedback. So I can tell you right away, this is used by customers in production. So we're not talking about futures and things that we hope our customers would implement. It's being used, right? So things that we recently added were also based on customers using this and us figuring out how we can improve it, right? Even the very practical things like the first item, right? The agent asked a question, it was answered by the agent, and then how can you quickly copy and paste this in an email, for example? Right, to respond working on while you're working on a ticket, right? So very interesting. The last item, we call it agentic chat. That is our reimagination of global search in ITSM and in business workflows, by the way. So we are aligning ITSM and business workflows when it comes to service collaborator capabilities, because pretty much all of the use cases apply to both of them. From a roadmap perspective, we're working on things like category prediction, ops categories, product categories. Another really nice one is resolution notes, right? Resolution notes are a mandatory field and need to be filled in. And when we develop these capabilities, we actually look at real customer data, and we have customers who share their, of course, anonymized data with us. And then we try and figure out how our data, our AI algorithms actually should be running on that. And we saw that resolution nodes is an absolute pain point for service desk agents. We saw so many dones or just a period in this field. It's mandatory, right? If you want to do move it to the next status. So really, really helpful, right? This is where we help. Remember the slide where I talked about things that we're doing, but we don't actually want to do, right? We do not going forward start writing resolution notes, right? We can leverage the agent, the summarization, the generation capabilities to write this note for me, propose one, and I just say I'm okay with it. This will be a real game changer for service desk agents. Knowledge curator, another agent that was mentioned. This is about the quality. We said that both employee navigator, service collaborator actually can work on knowledge articles and leverage the information to answer questions. Here we have an example. Well, we need to validate articles, because if your articles are incorrect, imprecise, right, we need to update and improve the data quality. So really, really important, validating a knowledge article, and then you get suggestions on how to improve your knowledge article. It's generally available for Helix Knowledge Management, the validate with the 25.1 release, so since January. We are working on generating articles, right? We had this create as one of the actions. So we will be coming out for business workflows first, that you can go and based on a case in business workflows and soon on an incident in ITSM, you can go in and say like, generate a knowledge article for me. And then you have a draft knowledge article in your knowledge base. We also want to support RKM and IS/business workflows knowledge management. You can create a knowledge article and it's fantastic. I played around with it. It takes less than a minute to create a draft knowledge article for a case in HKM. And you do not have to navigate and click on create new article, blah, 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 right? This is all done, right, by the agent for you in the background, right? We talked about automating. Well, we do not stop at different roles here. I'm picking an example of an admin developer role, right? Managing your DWP catalog. We said Employee Navigator can request something. Well, for that, you need a catalog. and we did a research project to how we could create catalog requests using a conversation. And that actually worked, and it worked so well, and it was so easy that we're actually productizing it. Fingers crossed, it will be in the 25.2 release, which will be available in SaaS next month. So really huge time saver, including translating. We have many customers globally where supporting more than one single language is actually important. And then, if you know how to create a catalog entry in DWP catalog, then as a last step, you need to maintain the different languages. You just go in and say like, okay, create the German or French version of this catalog request for me, and it's instantly, right? It takes seconds, and then you just say like, okay, save this whole thing and publish it. It's a huge time saver. It goes from days into, I mean, I want to say hours. Really amazing time saving productivity driver. Then I spoke about data quality, and data quality plays a key role for the knowledge base, but also for the CMDB. You have a configuration manager spending time in the CMDB and being concerned about the quality of the data and things that should be updated. And this is a task that no one really wants to do, manually looking at the data and see how it can actually be improved. Here, I want to run a quick video how this looks like. So the CMDB governor is not released yet. Okay, so it's a recording of our vision demo, but I wanted to give you some glimpses into where we are headed. Okay, this is the CMDB governor. On the left-hand side, you can see it looked at the data and is telling our configuration manager here, hey, there are some CIs that are missing the OS information, right? And then you could go in and say like, okay, this is great. And it makes a recommendation. Hey, it should be Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7.9. Right? Then you can either say approve or investigate, right? We have the same thing in Knowledge Curator. Knowledge Curator tells you, okay, you can improve your article. Should I rewrite it? Should I fix spelling, grammar mistakes? Here, instead of immediately clicking on approve, the user in the demo clicks on investigate, wants to learn a little more and see if there is actually something related to this. And this is going on now, right? Now we can see a bit of a back and forth, right? Investigate issue. Our configuration manager wants to learn more, right? And the agent is doing all the work and answering the questions, right? You just ask the questions and you get the answer, right? So during the analysis, two more CIs without OS version were found. Fix the data, right? Is the command now, and then the recommendation from the agent is, well, I want to set the OS for all seven to Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and it does this automatically. You saw that it said mark completed, and another thing here is it got approved when it said mark completed here on the screen. And here you can see that the quality score, something we want to provide as well, actually went up. So pretty amazing capabilities here. And by the way, we expect the first iteration with the first skills in the what we call the 25.4 release, which is the fourth calendar quarter. So the video ran on a little bit here. Here is the manual investigation. This is you can do your own investigation, right? If we might not catch everything, but you want to go in and manually do an investigation and find out if there are some issues that need a fix here. So you can do this as well, right? And then you tell, right, the agent what to do, things like analyze root cause. So I wanted to give you a glimpse into where we are headed with this CMDB governor. Then the last item that I want to cover is I want to talk a little bit more about Microsoft Teams. So I mentioned earlier that the way we are supporting Microsoft Teams is in Employee Navigator, like our previous virtual agent, that we actually support it as a channel specifically for the Employee Navigator use case, asking questions, submitting requests, now checking service health items, getting in, doing approvals, etc. Right? But we're looking at Microsoft Teams from a more holistic perspective, more from a collaboration perspective in use cases across the board, not only specific to the employee persona, but like the major incident manager, for example, right? And how can we help that persona? So this is also a vision demo. We expect to see a first version of this in the upcoming 25.2 release, but we will use the same strategy as I mentioned earlier, that we release an agent and then release over release, we add more skills. And this is a very advanced demo, right? Screen recording here from UI design, user experience design. And the first version will not actually cover it in this. But the idea is collaboration, breaking down silos, and look at this in a single place. Right? So it starts with a notification. So there's a notification, and I'm pausing the video here a bit. Right? There's a notification, Teams notification coming up, right? Saying that there is an issue, right? We observed an issue and we think that needs special attention. We need a swarming session, right? Chat ops, however you want to call it, session, and we want to run it in Microsoft Teams. And we the capabilities here, right? They are not specific to Microsoft Teams, right? This is mainly about bringing capabilities that we have in our BMC Helix backend, in our BMC Helix UI, centralized for multiple people in a collaborative session into Microsoft Teams. Right? All the incident and incident related recommendation, they're coming from ITSM and not from the Microsoft Teams portion here that we've developed or are developing here, right? Let me continue with the video here a bit, right? And well, the recommendation is to investigate this, right? And the mouse pointer pointed at the names. So it's also about figuring out who should be joining the session and do this automatically. And then you can send messages. It's a standard Teams session, but then you have a specific persona, right? Helix GPT, right? This is the, and I'm pausing here again. This is the person that helps you, right? You want to get more information about a major incident, right? When did it start? What is the background, right? Can you provide this information? And you want to see this in Microsoft Teams. You do not want to navigate in different areas of the screen. And then you keep picking that while working on this, right? Right, okay, who can solve this? Who do you need to pull into the session to help this? Right, and then you get additional information. And again, here we're showing a card with some information, right? And this information is coming from the AI ops side, right? I mentioned breaking down the barriers. We keep talking about service ops, not separating between service management and operations management. We pull the information that we need in the specific situation and the agents specific to the role, right? We are here in this bridge and talk about this and trying to resolve this, right? So we are asking Helix GPT what causing the issue, right? This is doing some analysis, and this brings up another screen. And if you know AI ops, you immediately see that this card is not showing something. That card is showing something that already exists, right? But it shows it in the Microsoft Teams context and not separately, no cross launch here. root cause investigation, right? We can ask about the root cause, right? Then we get, well, um, uh, um, a notice or a summary of what could be the root cause, right? Then, well, a recommendation how to actually address this is changing some configuration settings, right? Where does this setting need to be fixed, right? You can ask about the history, what happened. I need to stop this. It's going really fast here, right? We need to go back in the history. Did this happen before, etc. Right? Then how do you actually solve this? This is the code wizard. You might know that from our AI Ops product, right? And then the key here is, are there any related knowledge articles that would help in this situation? And what this demo gets to is that, okay, we know how this can be resolved, right? We want to create a change request, right? And here we want to again have the agent creating the change request. We don't want someone to go into ITSM, change calendar, create and schedule a change. We want the agent to do this automatically. We want to provide cross-link opportunities here that you can click on the change and take a look at how it actually looks in ITSM, right? But then you can go on and right, update it with the details, how to fix it. Here's the incident, link to the incident, right? And then go back into Teams, right? And then they want to do an understanding what happened, right? And run, for example, a 5 why analysis. This is really important in the area of problem management. We're working on 5 whys. Here we show the 5 whys in the Teams UI. But the 5 whys will be available, for example, also in proactive problem management, right? This is the ITSM Insight portion where you can, well, do problem management, detect problem, create a problem investigation, and then ask the 5 whys. So really important from that perspective. Right. This pretty much wraps this up. There's some more back and forth in this, but well, that summarizes this. Um, yeah, I want to summarize my section before I hand over. So the way we are looking at Helix GPT agents, right? It's really transforming how enterprise IT works, right? So first, it's the self-service aspect. Key here is Employee Navigator. We all want self-service. We have an issue. We want to do something. We can't do it, and we want a resolution immediately, right? Like we Google things before we ask someone. Right, this is really, really important. From an organizational perspective, ticket deflection is important, right? We want to deflect tickets. We do not want the service desk to work on easy items that can be solved by the user directly themselves, right? Then, from an organizational perspective, we are as well interested in driving productivity, right? This one slide, we want to move to the upper right, right? To the higher value outcomes. We want to drive productivity, automate, recommend, provide insights, summaries, right? And getting people to do work that is not done today. Last but not the least, right? We want to enable rapid adoption, right? We have this open architecture as I displayed, your data, your model, your compute, right? We want to meet the users where they are. We want to have create agents that automate work. And we want this all powered by our container-based deployment. For example, if you do this on-prem, we are running the same containers in our cloud. Our on-prem customers can run it in their private cloud or in their own data center. So full flexibility, same functionality available across the board. So now I'm transitioning to the next section. And for that, I'm handing it over to Dale and Shanice. They're going to talk about their experience implementing this Helix GPT at our customers.
Thank you, Jurgen. Hello, everyone. I'm an associate software consultant. I've been working for BMC for almost 2 years now, and I customize many ITSM applications for customers. So Dell and I will be going over customer success. We'll just be getting into some benefits, success stories, lessons learned, and best practices. Next slide, please, Jurgen. Thank you. Going into customer benefits, so Helix GPT combines AI-powered automation with BMC suite of ITSM tools, delivering more efficient and proactive approach to managing ITSM services. It empowers businesses to improve customer success, decision-making, streamline operations, and reduce costs, all while keeping systems secure and compliant. Once a question is asked to the chatbot, it searches through the available search providers specified. When it finds a relevant knowledge article, it will provide the user with the solution based on the query. This has reduced time for IT teams that spend on usually manual documentation. Next slide, please, Jurgen. Thank you. Now for a few customer stories. A customer has indexed over 6,500 plus HKM articles and is using them to answer user questions, which is saving teams time when in the past calls were made and tickets were usually opened. When an end user cannot find the service request they are looking for in the chatbot, it will ask them if they would like to submit a generic ticket. If needed, the user can choose to connect to a live agent that will find the solution for them in real time. From an agent perspective within live chat, Helix GPT summarizes the chat the end user had before the agent, and this will provide the agent of full information when assisting the user. The agent can also utilize Helix GPT to see past tickets that were similar and use solved cases to assist with the case at hand. These customer stories have resulted in customer saving cost, end user agent satisfaction, and time efficiency for many teams across the board. Thank you, and I'll hand it over to Dell.
Thanks, Charnice. Jurgen, if you can go to the next slide there. So some of the lessons learned in dealing with these customers, just a quick high level. These customers that we've implemented at are in the agent advertising industry, telecommunication industry, phone industry, insurance industry. So these are large companies that most people across the world would recognize. So some of the lessons learned, latest version, as Jurgen pointed out, we are adding features monthly to our product. We're improving upon existing things and adding new functionality. So you want to be at the latest version. This area is rapidly changing so quickly that to get the most out of the product, you want to get to the latest version. One thing we keep an eye on is token usage. This is getting a little technical, but that's your usage of your LLM in the background. We use Langsmith to monitor that. On our BMC website, we have sizing. It's ballpark sizing. It'll get you whether you're a small, medium, large customer for usage, and it'll help you to get the right connection, the right usage amount, and you can monitor it, the token usage. But this is one thing we keep a close eye on, and we can adjust during our implementation process. Recommendation is utilize the out-of-the-box prompts where appropriate. And if you have to change them or modify them or they aren't fit for purpose, copy them and make changes to the copy. Leave the out-of-the-box prompts alone. It's just that way you have a working model in the background to always compare to. BMC Helix GPT only searches across configured data sources. It's not going to magically connect to a website that you're not aware of. It's not going to get knowledge articles that don't exist. It is looking at data that you've configured for Helix GPT to go look at. So it's looking at HKM or RKM or Confluence or SharePoint, but it doesn't magically go there unless you set it up in the configuration to go there and look at that data. I just mentioned that out of the box, the configurations are easily there for HKM, RKM, business workflow, knowledge articles. You have to configure SharePoint or Confluence to make that connection happen. Every customer's has a different connection and different set of security, so it's easily set up and configurable, but it's something we have to do or the customer has to do to get that working. Next slide. I'm trying to go through this quick to leave about 10 minutes at the end here for Q&A. So it supports all languages that DWP supports. If it comes across an unsupported language, it's going to default to English. So if your DWP application is supporting whatever language is supporting, your HKM is going to support it also. Or your Helix GPT. Next slide. So some of the best practices when configuring your prompts, limit the topics to a knowledge domain. For some of our customers, they were specifically HR not knowledge articles. So you can have multiple Helix GPT curators or agents, and they can be specific to knowledge domain. So have an HR one, have an IT one, have a NOC one. It separates your data it's looking at, the websites it's looking at to gather your answers. That way you don't have bleed over of an HR response into an IT response. It just within the configuration, you can set up filtering to filter out the data that it's only looking at HR data or it's only looking at IT data to give your automated responses or your answers back. Use friendly, useful, formal tone in your responses. When you're gathering their information, summarize it back to them, ask a confirmation. So when you're configuring some of the prompts, gather that information, re-summarize it. So it's like in any meeting, you want to make sure you're on the same page with the bot. It's smart enough to summarize it and ask to confirm that information. And if you say no, it's not right, it'll reset. Go back through and clarify those questions and answers. This is just a configuration of knowledge articles to summarize as a paragraph or bullets or a number list. It just looks better as that data comes back. Use headlines or sections when you have long answers from knowledge articles. It'll summarize and give that summarization back. Just back to there's no out of the box rules for Confluence or SharePoint. It goes back to these things don't magically happen. As an admin, you have to configure that handshake to go look at that data, so that data can be part of your AI responses and answers that come back. And I think that was the last slide, Jürgen. We're going to open it up to Q&A. I know I went through that fairly fast, but we've implemented probably, we're professional services, 15 to 20 customers over the last 6 months. And I think we've got about 150 on our roadmap to get them started down the Helix GPT path. So.
Thank you, Dale.
No
yeah,
problem.
so we have a lot of questions, and thank you to the team for starting to answer those. So I'm going to go to the first one while I start unmuting everyone. So Abhishek was asking, and I think this is more of a question maybe for yourself, Jürgen, around language support for voice. Abhishek, I'm just going to try to find you to unmute you to see if you want to just maybe add some more information to that, because I know it would have come when he was going through the slides.
Yeah,
Don't know.
we get this question quite a bit, and language support is really, really important. And this is an area where it's also lesson learned for us. we are leveraging the large language models and different versions of large language models, right? GPT 3.5, 4.0 for Omni, right? And we worked with customers globally and we learned that, well, it really depends on how good these large language models are in supporting this language, right? We if the large language model supports it, we are supporting it, right? And that is applying to text, summarization, voice interaction, etc. And it is really, really, the large language models are really powerful. You can ask a question in Spanish, and even if the knowledge is only available in English, you can tell Employee Navigator to always respond in the user's language, then it gets automatically translated, right? So in all countries where this auto translation is allowed, you can actually use these features. Really, really powerful. Dependencies on the large language models, though. Right? I can remember one customer, and that is it's quite some time ago. They were on GPT 3.5 and they had to upgrade to 4.0 to get really good support in Spanish language.
Abhishek, hopefully that's answered your question. If you do want to come off mute, feel free. Otherwise, I will move to the next question. I'm just giving everyone the ability to speak to us. So if you do have questions that aren't into the Q&A right now, please also raise your hand because we will come to you after. So the next question, Jürgen, was around Employee Navigator coding with progressive web app so it can be usable on a smartphone.
Yes, it can. Yeah. We often demo it on a smartphone. You've seen Digital Workplace was one of our first applications that introduced progressive web applications in 2019. So at that time, we completely rewrote the DWP UI. And I had the slide where I talk about you can slide in what we call a blade, and that works perfectly on mobile devices as well. We hear from customers, depending on the region, hey, you need to support WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp was a big driver for our virtual agent, LATAM, Europe, right? Great user communities in WhatsApp, for example. Right, so for mobile devices, alternatives, but DWP as well as the Employee Navigator capabilities are available on mobile, right? Kind of the picture taking use case really makes sense with your mobile device.
Thank you. And Mark, I saw you came off mute. I don't know if you wanted to ask anything else, if you can hear us okay.
No, thank you. That answered my question.
Great, thank you. Great question, because I'm sure other people were thinking the same thing. So it's good to get these covered off. Thanks. And actually, just a bit of a plug. Carl Anders Folk, who works for Jürgen, is working with me on a monthly basis around Employee Navigator. So we are spending quite a bit of time showing you how to use live prompts. You will find that on the community page where all the webinars are put. I will be sharing that link out with all the recording and details today. So if anyone else is also interested in Employee Navigator specifically, there is a monthly session that's being set up, and we'd love to hear customers' feedback as well. Okay, thanks, Mark. John, a question from you was, any plans on putting Ask Helix GPT on smart recorder screen in Smart IT so agents can get their suggestions prior to creating an INC?
Yeah, very interesting question, and we keep debating this. If you look at smart recorder, right, is what is the real future in the world of agents, right? It's kind of the typical someone calls scenario, and well, would someone still call? We hear from customers that they are turning off, right, all phone support, right? And we expect to see this more going forward, right? But how would we reimagine a smart recorder? We're discussing it, right? Is it still necessary with Employee Navigator, etc.? I had this as a roadmap item, the autonomous agentic service desk, right? Where you do a screen sharing and do a live conversation, right? And that agent would be able to submit an incident at the end. So interesting question. We are figuring out what the best path forward is here.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, John. I know normally you'll have a good question. Thank you for that. Okay, we've got another question that's come up. I'm not sure who this is from because it's anonymous, but it's around Knowledge Curator, Jürgen. So will Knowledge Curator be available for ComAround and Helix Knowledge Management?
Yeah, so we have started. So the first in 25.1, we are supporting HKM by ComAround. What we are currently working on is supporting our other knowledge bases, right? So we have HKM by ComAround, we have RKM/ITSM knowledge management in ITSM, and we have business workflows knowledge management, right? By the way, business workflows knowledge management, we are calling it now IS for Innovation Suite Knowledge Management. We completely decoupled it from business workflows to make it more, generically applicable to other applications. And my current thinking is that we'll start with business workflow/IS knowledge base, and then we will also get to RKM, right? So it's kind of really where the roadmap comes in. Release over release, we want to support more of our knowledge management technologies.
Hopefully that's answered whoever's question it was. If you do recognize it and you want to speak again, put your hand up and let us know. Next question was from Ahmed. iAssist admin, can you give recommendations on retiring unused items or data cleansing? And Ahmed, feel free if you want to come off mute.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I can answer this question, right? So if you look at this, our knowledge curator and the CMDB governor both looked at data quality. And well, we started with updating or creating new entries. From a roadmap perspective, and I didn't have this on a slide, we are looking at deduplication and retiring, right? Retiring a knowledge article, retiring, right? A CI, right? Or finding a duplicate knowledge article. These are very valid use cases when it comes to data quality. The deduplication data science is actually going on at the moment. And we kind of have like, we do the data science work, right? This is really, really important to understand. We do the data science work at BMC so that our customers do not have to do it, right? Like, can I build an employee navigator myself? Yes, you can, right? There are lots of YouTube videos, but we know the domain, we run data science, we provide out-of-the-box prompts, right? So we do a lot of work already for our customers here, right? So, well, long story short, right? Data quality includes deduplication and identifying obsolete data, right? Knowledge curator and CMDB governor.
Thank you, Jürgen, and hopefully, Ahmed, that answered your question. I'll take two more questions because I know that we're on the hour now. So there's another question. Can CMDB Governor integrate with third-part CMDB2 from Push Parish?
Yeah. Really, really good question. We're starting with our CMDB, our BMC Helix CMDB, but it is actually a topic discussed in our product teams into what other vendors should we support. We see this with CMDB Governor. We see this with our Change Risk Advisor. And that we could take a look at other sources of information and that we could process. I would be very interested in, having a follow-up conversation. So, yeah, please leave a note and we could have a follow-up conversation on that.
Thank you, Jürgen. I'll pass you on the details. I'm going to take
Yeah.
the last question. Actually, I can see Elizabeth is answering it. So, Elizabeth, if you're comfortable coming off of mute, there was a question from John Silver. Any plans to incorporate Helix GPT with smart reporting?
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the mute button. I was just going to say, smart reporting, we are no longer utilizing. We're trying to shift over to Helix dashboards. And I know that we've already started incorporating features where they can like build dashboards to see the queries that the users are putting into Helix GPT, things of that nature. But not smart reporting though, because that is no longer a tool that we are utilizing. We are trying to transition our clients to Helix dashboards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we're working on a specific agent. I think it's currently called Insight Finder. And that is reimagining dashboards, right? You don't want to build a dashboard that might be used. You want to be able to directly ask these questions. And as an intermediate step, we're building out the technology that we can use the generate capabilities of these agents to generate the queries, etc., so that in a interactive conversational fashion, you can create a dashboard. But definitely, yeah. More to come in terms of agents in this space, finding insights, right? Understanding your data.